What's up, guys? It's Livewire MMA. Today I got all the picks for UFC 303, which comes out this week, and I gotta say, this is one of the better cards. This is probably going to be one of the best cards we have this year. At first it was this was a very odd card, but it's still very good. They've made a lot of changes to it, and it's still great, though. I think it's actually better than before. Before we had Michael Chandler versus Conor McGregor, and honestly, I think they made that fight just to show us that Conor McGregor still has it, because Michael Chandler just does not have any fight IQ at all, and Conor McGregor probably would have knocked him out and won the first rounds in that fight. And I think they just made that matchup on purpose, but obviously it's canceled because Conor McGregor's just lost it at this point. And they changed another fight like 4 times already. Anthony Smith versus Roman Dolidze. It started out as the freaking co-main event with Jamal Hill versus Khalil Roundtree, which was very exciting. I wanted to see that really bad. And it went from Jamal Hill versus Khalil Roundtree to Jamal Hill versus Carlos Ulberg to Anthony Smith versus Carlos Ulberg to Anthony Smith versus Roman Dolidze. It's autism. I don't get it, but yeah, that's how it is. So let's just get right into the picks. So the first pick I got is Ricky Simon versus Vinicius Oliveira. I'm going with Ricky Simon. I just believe he leans more on experience in the UFC. Ricky Simon just leans on the more skill and experience than Vinicius Oliveira. Vinicius Oliveira is young, he is athletic, he is powerful, he does have great striking, but in his last fight, he was fighting a short-notice opponent, and he got the knockout on him, but in the grappling exchanges, he just didn't look that good. And Ricky Simon is a better wrestler and grappler, so I think Ricky Simon just takes it if he takes Vinicius Oliveira to the ground. However, if they stand up, I think it will be a bit closer, but I think Vinicius Oliveira has the power to knock Ricky Simon out, which could happen, but I'm going with Ricky Simon because he just leans more on experience and skill. But yeah, that's my pick, Ricky Simon. Now, Rai Tsuruya, I have no idea how to say that name. It's a Japanese name, I just can't say it. I'm sorry. Versus Carlos Hernandez. Now, I think Carlos Hernandez takes this, but this is a very close pick for me. I'm not sure who the favorite is right now because it doesn't show on the UFC website, but I'm picking Carlos Hernandez, but I wouldn't be surprised if Rai beat him. The reason I'm picking Carlos Hernandez versus Rai Tsuruya is because Carlos has fought better competition. On the other hand, Rai just has fought okay competition. Now, the bigger reason I'm picking Carlos is because he is more experienced. He does have better skill, in my opinion, and he has fought a lot better competition. He's lost to better competition, but still has fought better competition. And Rai, on the other hand, has fought okay guys. He's fought in guys on road to the UFC, and in his fights, it's really weird to watch because when he's more of a wrestler than a striker, it seems like, and when he does shoot for a takedown and you watch him take the opponent down, you think to yourself, oh, well, if he was taking like a better opponent down, he'd have a much harder time. And I think Carlos Hernandez just is that guy, and he won't be taken down as easily by Rai Tsuruya. And that's why I think Carlos Hernandez wins. But the reason I say this is close is because Carlos has shown to be a bit chinny. He got knocked out in his last fight by Tai Terez, and that's not bad because Tai Terez is very good. But it was also in one of his recent fights. I think it was on the Contender Series. Carlos Hernandez got rocked very bad by a simple 1-2, and these guys are flyweights, keep in mind, so I'm not saying they don't hit hard, but come on, it's the flyweight division. They're pretty skinny, and he got rocked very bad in that fight, and I think he almost got knocked out. And it just shows that Carlos Hernandez is a bit chinny, so I think he could possibly get knocked out by Rai if he does improve his striking. But I think this is going to be a grappling fight, and I think they're going to try to take each other down half the time. And if they do that, Carlos, I believe, will win by decision because he just leans more on that experience level. So I'm picking Carlos Hernandez. Next fight, Andrei Arlovski versus Martin Buday. I'm picking Martin Buday. Now, it's more on why I don't think Andrei's gonna win more than why I think Martin Buday will win. I don't think Andrei will win because he is smaller, shorter, and yeah, he's old. He's not in his prime anymore. He's old. He's 45, and he got beat by Waldo Acosta-Cortez. He got knocked out in some of his last fights, and I just don't think he's there anymore. On the other hand, Martin Buday is pretty young. He's athletic. He's got great cardio and pressure, great striking, and his career's looking a lot better right now. And he's got a good team. He's been training with Tom Aspinall, who is the interim heavyweight champ right now. And yeah, I think Martin Buday is just, I won't say in his prime right now, but he's doing a lot better than Arlovski right now, and he is still pretty young, so I think by knockout probably. Next fight on the list now, this fight is so clear in my opinion. Gillian Robertson versus Michelle Waterson Gomez. Gomez is getting old. She's not there anymore. Four fight losing streak, and Gillian Robertson is a big pressure grappler. So if she does take Michelle Waterson to the ground, I clearly think she wins by TKO, but from ground and pound, and I just think she is a lot more athletic than Gomez right now, and yeah, she's more into it, and she's a great grappler, but I will say though, her striking sucks. So I still think she'd win if they kept it on the feet, but I think Gomez is the better striker, but I think Gillian can easily take Gomez down, so I think Gillian Robertson's gonna win by TKO from ground and pound. But yeah, that's my pick. I think Gillian Robertson easily wins this. Next fight on the prelims. Now I'm gonna go with the underdog Yanis Ghemmouri. No, I'm joking. Payton Talbott, I think easily wins. The thing about Payton Talbott, yeah, he's well-rounded. He's smart striker. He's a smart fighter. He makes great adjustments. I'm not saying he's like unbeatable. I don't think he's unbeatable. He just hasn't fought that top competition, and I bet I think he will get beat sometime soon. I don't think he's only had come on, he's had 8 fights. He is obviously very good, but he hasn't fought the top yet. So in the meantime, we'll just have to see. And Yanis obviously isn't the guy to beat Payton Talbott. Payton Talbott is very great. He's a great fighter, but he's still beatable. And but he just hasn't fought that guy yet, fought the guy to find his weakness yet. And Yanis obviously, definitely is not the guy to do that. So I'm clearly picking Payton Talbott. I don't have to spend a long time on this one. He's a huge betting favorite. Now, if Yanis wins, you can come back to this video and make fun of me. I don't care. Payton Talbott wins 9 out of 10 times, and one of those times would be by a Leon Edwards KO on him. So yeah, obviously picking Payton Talbott. Now, Charles Jourdain versus Gene Silva. I am picking Charles Jourdain because even though he did lose his last fight, now here's the thing about Jourdain. He seems to do better under pressure in heavy fights. And Gene Silva is the guy to bring the pressure onto him. And Charles Jourdain, on the other hand, in fights where it's not that active, I guess, he just doesn't, I'm not saying he performs badly, he just doesn't do as good. And even though he did lose his last fight was very weird. And come on, he's fighting Sean Woodson, who is 6 foot tall, who's a 6 foot tall featherweight. I have no idea how he makes featherweight, but yeah, he's 6 foot tall. I mean, how do you fight that guy? They don't call him the sniper for nothing. And I'm not making fun of him for that loss, because anybody would have a hard time fighting that. Holy cow, he's 6 foot tall for a featherweight. It's just crazy. So his last loss wasn't that bad, and obviously that fight wasn't that very active. But I'm gonna compare a little bit. So in the fight with Rojo, sorry, I'm pulling up my notes. In the fight with Rojo, however you want to say his name, he was clearly losing the first round, And the second round was a bit closer, but it was the third. But it was clearly a close fight until the third round. He just picked it up, stepped on the gas, and knocked him out. And he used that pressure in his favor and beat the other guy. And he does that in a lot of his fights, it seems like. But on the other hand, it seems like the fights that aren't that active, he seems to lose because he just doesn't seem that motivated. And and these guys are strikers, so they will keep it on the feet. But I think Charles Jourdain wins just because he's a very mean fighter, and he loves fighting with pressure. He loves fighting when the pressure's on him. So I think Charles Jourdain takes this. I'm picking Charles Jourdain. Now, Cub Swanson versus Andrei Fili. I'm picking Andrei Fili, but I'm picking Andrei Fili not by skill, because he obviously isn't one of the more skilled fighters. Come on, Cub Swanson. He's got the skill. He can turn a fight into war every now and then, but come on, he's 40. He's somehow making featherweight. He seems very short and small for featherweight. On the other hand, Andrei Fili, even though he's not that skilled and seems to always lose to the top competition, he still does well, and he is still very explosive. So I'm picking Andrei Fili. I don't want to spend too long on this one because I think it's very obvious. Cub Swanson is 40. I think Andrei Fili either wins by submission or decision. So I'm picking Andrei Fili just because he's a lot more younger and a lot more explosive and athletic because he is pretty young. And on the other hand, Cub Swanson's like 40. Come on. Still cutting weight for featherweight. It's just or gaining weight because he seems very small, but still, I'm picking Andrei Fili. Moving up the card, Joe Pyfer versus Marc-Andre Barriault. Now, I had to do some research on this fight, and I'm picking Joe Pyfer because Joe Pyfer, it's gonna be a stand-up fight. It's gonna be a striking fight, but Marc-Andre always tries to stay in the pocket and tries to get in the clinch. I think he does that because he just doesn't have knockout power, and he always tries to goes for TKOs. Joe Pyfer, on the other hand, does have knockout power, and I think he knocks out Marc-Andre or beats him by unanimous decision because Marc-Andre always tries to stay in the pocket. On the other hand, Joe Pyfer tries to keep it at a distance, I guess. But if it does go in the pocket and he does, like, the distance is getting closed on him, he does knock people out for that. So I'm picking Joe Pyfer, probably by knockout later in the fight. But yeah, I'm picking Joe Pyfer. Moving up on the main card. Now, this one I changed my mind a couple times, but I've made up my mind this time. Ian Garry versus Michael Page. Now, at first, I picked Ian Garry, but then I went to go rewatch the Geoff Neal fight, and Geoff Neal is a great striker, and he made Ian look very beatable. Like, he made him look. He wasn't like going out there trying to knocking him out or anything, like making him bleed like Rory McDonald or nothing. But he was piecing him up really good, and he did make the fight look really close. And Michael Page, in my opinion, is the far better striker than Geoff Neal. So, and he does have a 79-inch reach against a 74 and a half reach with Ian Garry. So I think Michael Page actually can beat Ian Garry. So I'm picking Michael Page because Ian Garry seems to like to keep it on the feet. He kept it on the feet with Geoff Neal, so I think he'll do the same with Michael Page. And Michael Page is just such a crazy striker, such a confusing striker, and I think he's a bit much for Ian Garry, and I think he does beat Ian Garry, but I still think Ian Garry is probably it's hard to pick because Michael Page is an underdog and Ian Garry is the favorite, but it's definitely possible. From watching the Geoff Neal fight, it's very possible for Michael Page to beat Ian Garry. I think on paper, Ian Garry wins, but Michael Page is the better striker, and I feel like he could use his reach to counter him a lot of times like he did to Kevin Holland. But I feel like if Ian Garry tries to take it to the ground, I feel like Ian Garry can win. But the thing is that he likes to keep it on the feet, and if he does that for long enough, I think Michael Page can knock him out. So I'm going to pick Michael Page, but it's definitely a close fight in my opinion, and I think Ian Garry could win, but I'm picking Michael Page. Now, Silva fight. Okay, I don't care about this at all, and be honest. Mary Bueno Silva looked terrible in her last fight. I thought she was gonna be like one of those very exciting women fighters like Zhang Weili and Joanna, but she isn't. Like, she just got destroyed in her title fight at 297, and I just after that fight, I lost interest. But yeah, I even thought she was gonna beat Raquel Pennington, and I thought it was gonna be a competitive fight, but it was awful. It was just such a boring fight. She was on the ground the whole entire fight. So I don't even care about this fight at all. So I'm just picking Macy Chiasson by Bilal Muhammad decision. So I'm picking Macy Chiasson. Now the next, I don't know why this fight is above this one, Ian Garry versus Page. I don't get it at all. But yeah, it's just weird. They should have put this fight where the Ian Garry and Page fight is. They should have just swapped them. I don't know. It's an interesting fight to open up with. But yeah, I don't know, man. But yeah, so Anthony Smith versus Roman Dolidze. I'm picking Anthony Smith, and I'm not saying Anthony Smith is the best, but he does lean more on experience than Roman Dolidze. And I'm picking Anthony Smith because even though he was knocked out by Khalil Roundtree, he still looked decent. Like, I wouldn't say he was great, but he still looked decent against Khalil Roundtree. So despite him being older than Roman, he still has that. He still has that skill and athleticism, and he still can beat people. He beat I always forget these Brazilian names. I'm sorry. I'm checking again. Yeah, sorry, I always forget these Brazilian names. I'm sorry. He beat Vitor Petrino, who was undefeated, 11-0, now 11-1, and he beat him by guillotine, so he still has that skill. And there also is the fact that Roman Dolidze's taken this fight on more short notice, and he was also preparing for a middleweight fight. And that goes to show that Anthony Smith will have the size advantage. I mean, look at this, 186 to 205. I know they gain weight, but come on. Anthony Smith is taller also, and he's clearly going to have the size advantage. So I'm picking Anthony Smith, far more experienced, and he is going to be bigger. So I'm picking Anthony Smith. Yep. Now, the co-main event, Brian Ortega versus Diego Lopez. Some people are picking, wait, let me see again. Yeah, Diego Lopez is the favorite for a very good reason. Okay, Brian Ortega is good, no doubt about it, but his striking's mid. Every time he's tried to strike, he did look really good against the Korean Zombie, but that fight was years ago, and he got destroyed by Volkanovski and Max Holloway. And he doesn't do well against these elite strikers. And he always tries to take him down, which is fair, because he is one of the best jiu-jitsu fighters in the featherweight division. But I think the difference between them is Diego Lopez is a lot more motivated, and he is a better striker. And he can defend against great grappling. I mean, he took the fight with Movsar Evloev on short notice and went to a very close fight with him. So he does have the skill to grapple with great grapplers, because Movsar Evloev, obviously being a Dagestan or Russian fighter, is a good grappler, and he's able to fight it off and not get submitted. So I don't think he gets submitted at all by Brian Ortega. I think he can defend against it if they do take it to the ground. But I think Diego Lopez wins primarily because his striking and knockout power, and I think he's going to piece Brian Ortega up if they keep it on feet. And even if they do take it to the ground, I just think Lopez is going to escape it very easily. So I don't think Lopez is going to go for a submission. I think he's going to go for a knockout. So I don't think he will take it to the ground. But I think Brian Ortega will take it to the ground. But if he does, I believe Lopez will escape it very easily. And I think I don't know if he knocks out Ortega, but I think he pieces him up very well and wins by decision. But we'll just have to see. So I'm picking Diego Lopez. Next fight on the card, very close one. I'm picking Alex Pereira. I'm just gonna be honest. I'm not a Glazer at all. I'm not part of the whole Chama Virgin community, but I'm picking Alex Pereira because it's very long, but I'm gonna keep it short. So in the first fight, Jiri was clearly winning until he got touched by Alex Pereira. And Jiri obviously isn't known for his defense. He keeps his hands very well. He keeps his head out. He does have a great chin and good head movement to save himself. But after that fight, I thought, oh, maybe Jiri is probably going to work on his defense. Maybe he just wasn't expecting Alex to hit that hard. But then I saw him in the Alexander Rakic fight, and he just didn't. It seemed like he was fighting the same way. Like he didn't work on his defense much at all, and he wasn't rocked or anything, but he was getting hit with these heavy big shots by Rakic, and Jiri eventually won, obviously. But it just goes to show that I don't think Jiri Prochazka worked on his defense that much enough. So I think Alex Pereira beats Jiri Prochazka the same way he beat him last time. Like, he's going to get beat up for a while. Has better skill. He's going to keep him on the fence. And Alex Pereira's just going to I think Alex Pereira's going to kick him on the lower part of the body, like the legs, the body, and get Jiri to open up more. And goes for the head and knocks him out. I think it's clear that he beats him the same way he did last time. The only way I can see Jiri winning against Alex Pereira is not obviously submitting him or wrestling him and trying to TKO him or knock him out, because Alex is kind of chinny. I'm not saying he has the worst chin, but he has been rocked by Israel Adesanya a couple times. To be fair, Adesanya does have some good power, but still, Alex was also getting rocked pretty well by Jiri in the first fight. So I think Jiri could knock him out, but I don't think he does. I just think Alex Pereira knocks him out before Jiri gets the chance again. I think it goes down the same way it went last time. So yeah, I pick Alex Pereira by knockout. And yeah, that's all my picks for UFC 303. It comes out in about 4 days. And I hope you guys liked my picks. Leave a comment down below if you thought one of them should have been different. And thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.